Hey there, thank you for tuning in. If you're new to this channel, my name is Shania, and on this channel you'll find loads of DIY tutorials. Some of the tutorials are of things that I made from scratch, and others of the tutorials are things that I took and I just refashioned them. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make a snakeskin bodysuit. Super sexy, super cute, and yeah. So let's get into it. So you want to start by trying on a pair of underwear that fit you really well, and you don't want to pull it too high above your waist or too low. You just want to have it comfortably sit on your hips, and then you're just going to take a pin and you're going to mark just above where the underwear is, and you're going to place the pin in the shirt so you don't have to attach the underwear and the shirt together. Then you're going to take your shirt, you are going to lay it down on a piece of pattern paper, and then you want to fold your shirt in half, and your pins should line up. And then once you do that, you're going to just fold your shirt again where your pin is. And then you're going to take an underwear, the same underwear, and you're going to fold it in half. And you're going to make sure that the vertical edge of the underwear lines up with the vertical edge of the shirt. And then you are going to just make sure everything is in place and that it's easily able to be traced. And then you're just going to trace along the edge. And then you're also going to trace all around the shirt as well. So once you finish tracing it, it should look something like this. And I just went ahead and made it darker so that you guys could see it a little better. And now I'm just going to close up those open gaps with my ruler. I just brought out that line straight all the way out, and then I'm going to bring the other line all the way down so that they can intersect. And then I'm just going to curve the line a little bit more and mark some X's so that I remember not to cut along those old lines. And I'm just titling this pattern so that I can remember what it's for in the future, and I'm remembering to put that there is no seam allowance needed, especially if we use stretch fabric. Now in the future, if you ever want to alter this pattern, you can go ahead and make the neckline lower by just using a ruler and drawing like a slanted vertical line or curved line or whatever design you want to use. You want to just cut out this front part of your pattern and set it aside for later. And now I want to show you guys how to make the back part of the bodysuit pattern. So you're gonna just trace your shirt again like you did for the first part, because I want the neckline in the back to be the same height as it is in the front. So I'm just gonna trace it normally. Now in order to fold your underwear evenly, you just want to line up the seams so that they are on top of one another, and that way it'll guarantee that once you fold the back part of your underwear, it will be symmetrically folded in half. I know it's a little bit difficult because the thong is so like small and thin, but it's doable. So you're just going to put it right below your shirt where your pins are, and you're just going to pin the underwear to the shirt so that it doesn't move when you trace it. And you're just going to trace the bottom of the top part of your thong, if that makes any sense. So the best way to go about tracing the crotch part is to just kind of pin it in place. So once you folded it in half, just pin it down in place. And then you want to line up the edge of the crotch so that it is vertically in line with the edge of the shirt. And when you do that, it might become detached from the edge of the shirt, and that's totally fine. You just want to focus on getting it in a straight line. And starting from that curved line where the top part of the thong is, you're just going to trace the inside of the crotch, and you're going to stop when you get to the guzzard. Now for the outside part of the guzzard, you don't have to trace the whole thing. Just make a mark where the guzzard ends, because later on we're going to go ahead and draw a straight vertical line that connects this mark to the vertical line of the edge of the shirt. I've been saying guzzard. It's not guzzard, it's guzet. My bad, but you get what I mean, right? Anyways, moving along, the next thing you want to do is just continue tracing the edge of your shirt, and you're just going to trace the side edge, the neckline, the armhole, and the other side. And then when you take off your shirt and your underwear, it will look something like this. So I just use my ruler to go ahead and make the lines darker. And then I just actually drew a straight line from the edge of where the shirt ends all the way down to that mark where I marked where the gusset was. So once I finished making the tracing darker with my ruler, I just went ahead and closed up the gaps at the neckline, the crotch, and at the side of the pattern. Then you just want to title this pattern piece so that you know it's for the back, and then cut it out and you will have your 2 pattern pieces like this to complete your bodysuit block. Now what you want to do is take your fabric and fold it in half. Make sure that the stretch is horizontally so that you can get in and out of your bodysuit comfortably. Then you want to place the pattern down onto the folded fabric, and then you want to trace it and cut it out. Remember that you don't need seam allowance, and you're going to repeat the same thing with the back pattern. And then once you have finished and you open it, it looks something like this. Then I just traced the back part of my bodysuit pattern, and once I finished doing that, I noticed that the crotch just seemed a little bit too wide at the bottom. So I took my pattern piece from the front of the bodysuit and I just kind of did a comparison to make sure that it was the same width. So then I just lined up the front part of the pattern. I lined it up to the vertical edge of the folded fabric, and then I just went ahead and drew a curved line to blend the bottom of the back part of the crotch to the front part of the crotch, if that makes any sense. And then I pinned it down and I cut it out. And then you should have 2 pieces like this. You want to layer the 2 pieces, the front and the back, on top of each other so that the right sides are facing. And you're just going to pin down one side and then you're going to sew along that side. So these are the settings that I use for the sewing machine right here on the screen. Once you're finished, if you want, you can go ahead and just serge the edge for a nice finish the way that I did, but you don't have to. Then I cut out one long strip of fabric, and the length of the fabric is about 34.5 inches, or you can just measure the circumference of your chest, and then the width is 1 inch. Then you want to take your bodysuit and you want to open it up like so, and you're going to take your strip of fabric and you're just going to line up the edge of the strip of fabric to the top edge of the bodysuit, and we're just going to measure how much we need to kind of leave hanging, and you're just going to stop when you get to like that top point here. And I know it doesn't make sense right now, but later on when we continue to sew, it'll make sense. So I'm just using a clip to make a mark so that I know that that's where I want to start matching up the fabric to the top edge of the bodysuit. So starting from where I placed my pin, I'm just lining up the strip of fabric to the top edge of the bodysuit, and I'm making sure that the right sides are facing, and I'm just going ahead and clipping it all along, and I'm just going to stop right here just before the start of the neckline. So along the top edge of both pieces of fabric like so, and this is the settings that I used in order to sew, and when you're done it should look something like that. And now you're going to need another strip of fabric. Honestly, I don't remember how long this strip of fabric was. I want to say it was the same amount as the first strip, which was 34.5 inches long and then 1 inch wide for sure. I'm just going to go ahead and cut off this extra tail. This piece of fabric that I'm cutting is what I had left over. It is not the same piece of fabric that I purposefully left hanging at the beginning. Now you want to take the strip of fabric that we're going to use for the neckline, and you're going to fold it in half so that you can find the midpoint of it, and then you're just going to place a clip to mark the midpoint, and you're going to line up that clip with the midpoint of the neckline. Continue lining up the remaining part of the strip of fabric to the neckline, and you're just going to pin it down. Keep in mind that you should have extra fabric on both sides of the neckline, and later on that extra fabric on each side will become our straps. And then you're just going to sew along the top edge of the neckline the same way that you did in the previous step. For the bottom part of the bodysuit, I decided to use bias tape that I got from Amazon just because it gives a super professional look, and it's really easy to use the bias tape. You just want to put your fabric right where you see that line. You just want to wedge it right in between the middle of the bias tape. When you're finished, your bias tape should look something like this. So once you finish attaching your bias tape to the bottom, you want to go back up to the top edge of the bodysuit, and we're just going to connect the front and the back piece so that we can finish attaching that bias tape at the top. So in order to do that, you want to close the front and the back piece so that it is wrong sides facing, so the right side should be facing up, and then you're going to take that leftover piece of bias fabric that we left over purposely a few steps ago, and you're just going to connect that extra piece of fabric to the front part of the bodysuit, and then you're just going to clip it. So basically the right side of the strip of fabric should be facing the right side of the bodysuit. So once you've done that, you want to just go ahead and continue doing a zigzag stitch the same way that we did with the rest of the bias tape. It should look something like this, and I know it's a little difficult to understand because the fabric that I use, it curls a lot, so you can't see what it looks like. But anyway, now you want to go ahead and just pin the sides together, and then you're going to go ahead and zigzag stitch, and if you want you can finish it by using your serger, but that's optional. So it should look something like this. And now what we want to do is we want to clean up the edge of the top of our bodysuit. So in order to do that, we're going to take that strip of fabric that we previously stitched, and we're going to fold it over once, and then we're going to take that fold and fold it over the edge of the top of the bodysuit. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Essentially, you're just doing a double fold. You fold it once and fold it again, and then pin it down, and then you're going to stitch it. So you want to make sure that you leave the straps last. And in order to finish off the straps, you want to just do a double fold, but the only difference is that you're folding one edge of the strap to the middle, and then you're folding the other edge of the strap to the middle as well. So both edges should meet in the middle, and then you're going to fold it. And as per usual, you want to make sure to clip down the folded straps before you start stitching. And the settings for the sewing machine is right here on the screen, but leave me a comment if you have any questions. And then after that, you want to make sure that you leave the straps for last. So you want to just start stitching around the edge of the top of the bodysuit. And then when you get to the base of where the straps are, you want to just kind of open it a bit and wrap the straps around the raw edge of the bodysuit so that the straps cover that raw edge, and then continue sewing. Then the last thing you want to do is stitch the straps. After that, you want to try on your bodysuit to decide whether or not you need to cut your straps. I ended up cutting my straps because they were just way too long, and since the fabric is stretchy, you really don't need super long straps. Anyhow, once you've done that, you just want to pin your straps to the back of your bodysuit so that the straps are on the inside of the back of the bodysuit. Pin it down and then sew it. Then you want to take some snaps and you want to just hand sew them to the bottom of the bodysuit to the front part and the back part. And if you watch this diagram right here on the screen, it shows you which part of the snap goes where. So I folded the thong part of the bodysuit because it was just a little too long, and then I hand sewed the snaps. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for other great videos and other tutorials like this one. See you in the next one. Ciao.